Now we're going to turn to that scary Uber incident. A 16-year-old girl now in custody, accused of killing her driver after he picked her up at a Walmart. ABC's Mara Schiavocampo here with that story. Good morning, Mara.
George, good morning. This is a truly shocking crime. Prosecutors saying a 16-year-old girl, seemingly your typical high school student, brutally murdered a complete stranger. Officials don't have a motive for the killing, and they say the suspect is not talking. Well, now she's facing charges as an adult and is being held without bail. This morning, an Illinois teen facing murder charges for what officials are calling a brutal and unprovoked attack on an Uber driver. 16-year-old Eliza Wozni appearing in court after prosecutors say she attacked her Uber driver with a knife and machete early Tuesday for no apparent reason at all, fatally wounding 34-year-old driver Grant Nelson.
Only 2 minutes or so after picking up the defendant, she begins to hack at him and stab him from the back of the seat.
Prosecutors say Wozni called for an Uber pickup at this Walmart just outside of Chicago around 3:15 Tuesday morning after allegedly stealing a knife and machete. Surveillance video reportedly showing her leaving the store without paying for the items. After allegedly turning the weapons on her driver, he managed to escape, running to a nearby apartment building for help.
It was just, help me, God help me, please, I'm gonna die, at the top of his lungs.
Officials say Wozni tried to flee in Nelson's Hyundai Sonata, but the high school student crashed the car and ran off on foot before police say they found her hiding behind a nearby building, wearing only leggings and her bra, still holding the machete and knife. Police saying they had to tase her to drop the weapons. Nelson was rushed to the hospital, but hours later died from his injuries. Now his family is remembering him as a gentle man and hoping for justice.
This is a time of heartbreak and tremendous loss for us.
In a statement, Uber says, "We are heartbroken by the loss of one of our partners, Grant Nelson. Our deepest sympathies and prayers are with his family and loved ones during this incredibly difficult time. This is such a baffling crime."
Yeah, it's senseless, completely senseless. So no clues on a motive at all.
You know, we reached out to her attorney. We did not get a response, but prosecutors saying this appears to be random. She did not appear to know the victim, and we're learning a lot about what she did that night. This was her third Uber ride of the morning. 16-year-old girl out at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning, and she stole these weapons, they say, from Walmart. So she got them that night. Surveillance video shows her walking around casually with these weapons, walking out of the store and calling the Uber.
2 minutes later, 2 minutes in.
2 minutes after getting into the car. And you know, the family of this man, Mr. Nelson, they're saying he was working 2 jobs, he lived with his family, really gentle soul, and he's being remembered that way this morning.
Oh, it's just horrible. Okay, Mara, thanks very much.
Okay.
Well, a California woman is facing charges in Texas after police say she stole her Uber driver's car and credit card, allegedly because the victim was driving too slowly. Austin police say the woman told the Uber driver, quote, "I need to get to the airport, so I'm going to take your car and drop it off at Southwest Airlines." She is then accused of grabbing the driver's phone and throwing it out of the window. When the driver stopped and then got out to go retrieve their phone, that's when 27-year-old Nuesha Efkami allegedly drove off and abandoned the car at the Southwest Airlines terminal, as she said. Well, joining us now, News Nation legal analyst and trial attorney Misty Maris. Misty, I have to say, I saw this and I said, I definitely want to do a deeper dive. Let's get Misty in to talk about this one. First, as an attorney, is there any viable and logical defense for this woman's alleged actions?
Well, Nicole, I agree with you. This is such a wild case. And look, I don't think there's anybody in the world who hasn't felt that angst on their way to the airport when they think they're going to miss their flight. But this is certainly not the way to handle it. So right now, she's charged with unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. In Texas, that is a felony charge that can carry up to a 2-year sentence. So it is very, very serious. The elements of that crime are operating a motor vehicle without the consent of the owner. So the defenses broadly would be that, number one, there was consent, or that, number two, there was not an intention to operate that vehicle without the owner's consent, meaning that there was some sort of misunderstanding about operating the motor vehicle. That would be the two defenses under the law. Sounds like she's trying to say from that statement that's in the arresting affidavit that she told the Uber driver that she was going to borrow the car and leave it. However, to your point, when it's unauthorized use as a motor vehicle, you don't have to show that she intended to steal the car permanently or anything like that. So the actions, as in this affidavit, would squarely fall under the law. So in my opinion, you're going to see her lawyers working towards some sort of a plea deal on this one.
Okay, Misty, based on that, saying that there's likely a plea deal, is that because this is essentially a slam dunk for prosecutors, especially since the suspect, allegedly used the victim's credit card to make more than $100 in purchases at the airport? And as we know, there are cameras everywhere in an airport. So, she can't say, I suppose she could try to say it's not her, but, there are cameras everywhere.
Right. And of course, if those issues that are in the arresting affidavit end up being true, because of course we know this is just an arrest, it's not a trial, it's innocent until proven guilty. But hypothetically, if she did in fact throw the driver's phone out the window and then take over control of the vehicle, then on the second piece of that, once she gets to the airport, she uses the driver's credit card to purchase a shot glass and candy. Very specific information in that arresting affidavit. It will be nearly impossible from a defense perspective to argue that she somehow had consent from the driver to use this vehicle in order to raise that as a defense to this particular charge, which is why I say we're likely to see, and this would depend on whether or not she has a criminal record and a variety of other factors, a defense attorney saying, look, let's just try and come to a resolution. This is a felony charge. Maybe she could plead guilty to a misdemeanor, because those facts, as in the affidavit, not so easy to get around from a defense perspective.
Not so easy. And as you said, is innocent until proven guilty. You raised the point that right now she's being charged, facing one charge, this unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. But again, there are a lot of details laid out in this affidavit. Are more charges likely?
Absolutely could be likely. There's so many different aspects that could be pursued here, because actually taking the phone out of someone's hand when you make that contact with the intent to commit a crime, there could be a charge relating to that. There, of course, could be a larceny charge. And once you're using someone's credit card, there could be other type of cybersecurity type implications. So there's a lot of different avenues that could be pursued by prosecutors. Right now, we're just seeing unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, but certainly more could get tacked on if this case were to make its way all the way into trial.
Yeah, and with all of the things that we report on every day, the good thing in all this, no one was hurt. We will see what plays out. All right, Misty Maris, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
For days, Pasco County crime scene technicians and detectives went through this home on Moog Road. Sheriff Chris Nacos says he will not go into specifics out of respect for the victim and his family, but he says his team saw gruesome things in the home.
It was a horrible scene for them out there for several days. It was tough.
Sheriff Nacos says the victim texted his wife on April 19th, saying he was about to make his last delivery for the day for Uber Eats. The sheriff says security video shows the victim arriving at the home.
We watched the video. He's a guy just like everybody else, just trying to make a living for his family.
Later that evening, the victim's wife reported him missing. Detectives then obtained his last known GPS location from Uber Eats and tracked him to this home. Later, detectives found trash bags outside of the home.
Unfortunately, what we found inside of some of those trash bags was human remains.
Detectives then arrested Oscar Adrian Solis, charging him today with first-degree murder. The sheriff says Solis has a long and violent criminal history in Indiana.
Burglary, battery on detention staff. He supposedly stabbed somebody several times while he was in prison in Indiana. So you're talking about a very violent individual that Indiana released and sent down to Florida.
Kalina Rios is an Uber Eats driver who also makes deliveries in this neighborhood and says she is now terrified to work because of what happened here.
I have to think of other safety plans now because I do the same thing this Uber driver do. Dropping off a simple order, it could have been any of us.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.
We know it can be hard to look at this picture, but the man you see here was simply trying to provide for his family as an Uber driver when he picked up a fare that quickly turned violent.
His 4 passengers beat him before robbing him and taking off in his car in the far north suburbs. Today, his wife spoke only to CBS 2's Sabrina Franza about his recovery.
This 56-year-old Uber driver is also a musician, a husband, and a father of 7. He uses his job as an Uber driver to supplement his income to support his family. Now he's out of work.
On some way, my amazing and strong husband is on some way mentally broken after this.
Ivana Stakovic just brought her husband home from the hospital, his face beaten and battered by 4 men that called for an Uber. Vasily Stakovic happened to answer that call. He greeted them with a smile.
We feel like Christians, and we offer our hospitality, our kindness, good manners to all people around us. That is our primary role in this world.
The 2 are musicians. They perform together. Driving for Uber is a way for Stakovic to supplement their income and support their 7 children. Performing is also how he met Joe Kieran. Joe calls him Vasco.
Vasco is somebody I know I can count on. He's a gentle soul.
Stakovic picked up a party of 4 around midnight near Elizabeth Avenue in Zion. The 56-year-old drove them to a destination, and when they arrived, they beat him up, left him bloodied, while they sped off in his 2010 Mercedes. Stakovic had no choice but to walk to a nearby gas station and call for help.
It's like, oh, call a victim. It's like 1-800, call a victim. You can literally call somebody up to have them come to you so that you can take advantage of that.
Kieran organized a GoFundMe for his friend, who's being monitored for a possible brain hemorrhage and can't sing, play guitar, much less drive an Uber for the time being.
Just that one thing that happens creates a incredible multitude of problems.
The Lake County Sheriff's Department is still investigating this case. Only the driver's phone has been recovered. His car is still MIA. No arrests at this time. We're on the north side. Sabrina Franza, CBS 2 News.